Yo, what is up guys? My name is Dan and today I'm going to show you how to reactivate dead leads with a simple N8N workflow. This workflow is perfect for small businesses like coaches of various niches, or actually basically any B2C businesses that sell something and are trying to reactivate their leads and bring them back to life. I could actually see this working in a B2B situation as well, to be honest, but let's just get into it. So as you can see, this workflow is split into two parts. Part 1 and Part 2. So there are a few interesting things about this first part of the workflow. So the first thing that you'll notice right away is that I put in 3 triggers: the click, the schedule, and the Google Sheets trigger. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to talk about real life scenarios where this might be a necessary setup. So for the click to trigger node, there are 2 scenarios where this might be useful. One is if you're testing that the workflow is working fine. And second, if you're trying to insert a random batch of leads somehow found. And that's it. In most real-life scenarios, you would probably use the schedule trigger, as most of the time you would want to have some sort of data manipulation upstream, where then you would be able to segment out the leads that would need to go through this reactivation flow, and then insert them into the specific table that this flow is looking at, which in this case is our specific Google Sheets table. The last trigger node that I have here is a Google Sheets trigger. And this is something that you would use if you wanted to get as real time as possible. So we have some standard fields here, like the credentials and the document and the sheet, which is just what you're choosing to look at. And then the important parts to pay attention to are the trigger on and the poll times options. On the trigger on selection, you're defining what will tell the workflow to start running. Is it a row added to the table that you're looking at, or is it a row updated? Or is it a row that's updated or added? Either one of those. And the poll times is how often you're going to tell this node to look at the source data. So basically, you're defining how real time do you want to get. Do you want this node to look at your table every single minute, every hour, or a custom time frame? And this would be useful for a scenario where you want the leads to go through the workflow as soon as they enter the table, as soon as possible, for whatever reason. So now that we've zoomed back out, let's talk about the second node that we see here, which is the get leads from Google Sheets node. So when we come in here, you're going to see some standard stuff. Again, the credentials to connect with. I'm not going to go into how to get the Google credentials and set up the API and all that stuff. You do need to add in some APIs, like the Google Calendar API and the Google Sheets API. But for detailed information on how to get that set up, I would just search on YouTube. I think Nate Herc has a video on it. It's pretty good. Go check it out. But yeah, everything here is pretty standard. What this is doing is it's just pulling in the leads from this document and from this sheet. So you're defining where to get the leads from. And basically, this Google Sheet that you see here is going to be acting as our CRM software. In real life, not a lot of companies will probably use Google Sheets as their CRM software, but smaller companies or maybe solo businesses like a coaching business, I do see them using Google Sheets as their CRM all the time. So it's not as irrelevant or unrealistic as you might think. So the next node is another Google Sheets node, but it's meant to update that same row that we got from this previous node with value of inurture for the field status. So if I open up the configuration panel, what it's doing is that it's going to match on the phone number. So it's going to query the Google Sheets table, and then it's going to update the status field with the value of inurture. Inurture, I guess. That's typo. Neutral. And what that does, let's see if we can test the step. So we see the result. Status is inurture and neutral. And then we see on the Google Sheets that it has appeared on the column. But this is just being done to make sure that we have it in the data, to make sure that we know that this lead has gone through this workflow. Okay, now on to the WhatsApp node, and this is where I can share some actual sauce that's not really well known, because configuring WhatsApp is a pain in the ass, for sure. So let's click into it. Let's see what we're working with. So we have the WhatsApp account, and you know how to set that up, right? Or you might think that you do. Just creating new credentials is easy. You just get the access token from this page, from your app, right? You generate an access token. You copy that, and then you come over to the app, copy it onto here, and then also add that business ID. And this is pretty well-known information up to here. But little known is the fact that this token that you generate from this page expires in a number of hours and it's gone. And you have to set up a new credential every single time. And you don't want to do that, right? That's painful. So what you actually want to do is, instead of going to the developers.facebook.com, you want to come to business.facebook.com. And then on your business portfolio, you can actually create a new user. You can create a new admin user. Add system name, test, admin, create system user. Oh, well, our maximum number is 1, so we can't. But what we can do is, once you create the admin user, you can assign the app that you are using to talk to N8N, as well as your WhatsApp account, to this admin access, and then click generate token on the admin. So like that, reactivation demo. Next, set expiration. You just set the expiration date to be never, right? If you set it to never, the token is never going to expire. You assign permissions, and then you assign WhatsApp permissions, and that's it. And then you generate the token, and then you can use that token in combination with the WhatsApp business account ID that you see here. So you put that into your N8N account, and then that token will never expire. So let's look at some parameters here. Everything here is pretty standard. We got some components here, and another thing that I have to share with you guys is that the first message to send from N8N, or probably through any API, has to be a template message. So we can't do any other operations as a first send other than the send template. We can't do a send, we can't do a regular send and wait. We could probably do a custom API call, but we don't want to go down that route, right? So it has to be a send template operation. And to set up a new template, you have to come to business.facebook.com, click on the menu button here, and then go to WhatsApp Manager. And then from there, manage templates, and you'll actually be able to create new templates that you can use. You want to set the variable as number because text doesn't work, at least not with N8N. And this is how to set it up. Hello, number 1, that would be the name. An item similar to the one that you almost purchased last time, number 2, is actually currently on sale. The item is number 3. Would you like to book a session? This is an example message that I'm showing to let you know that it is possible to personalize template messages that you set in Meta with N8N. So once you set this message, you can come back to the N8N node. You're going to add a component of body, right? Add component, type body. And then also add parameters that are text. And then for each field, we're going to drag in the variables that we want to populate for those numbers that we set on the meta template. For my case, I'm going to drag in the first name. Nope. From there, oh, I have to delete it first. First name, Daniel, and last cart item. And similar cart item. There we go. I'm just going to test this step. And there we go. Workflow executed successfully. Now let's see if we can get a message from Meta. There we go. We got a WhatsApp message right here. Hello, Daniel. An item similar to the one you almost purchased last time. Trip to Nevada is actually currently on sale. The item is trip to Nevada. Would you like to book a session? The CTA at the bottom, stop promotions, is not a requirement. I just put it there because I wanted to get the message approved. Or I wanted to get the template approved faster. because each template does have to go through a review process. I don't know if it's actual people that are doing it, but as you can see here, this one is still in review. I don't know why, but I just created a new one just for this demo. But yeah, that's how you can send out personalized WhatsApp messages using the send template operation on the WhatsApp node. All right, so let's talk about part 2 of the workflow. It's another simple workflow relatively. It's just one AI agent connected to a WhatsApp trigger. And the WhatsApp trigger is just going to be watching for any messages, any replies to that WhatsApp response that we saw yesterday. So if I were to type in hello and then send a message, this workflow is going to know that a user has sent a message through, and then it's going to trigger this part of the workflow. So the AI agent node is also set up in a specific way. It's going to grab that user message from the first WhatsApp trigger node. And it also has a system message that just basically tells it that it's a booking agent meant to update and create Google Calendar meetings. Because in this case, we're basically selling meetings is what we're doing. So last but not least, let's talk about this WhatsApp node that's going to be sending dynamic messages to the user based on their response. And the operation for this node is going to be the regular send, because we've actually sent using the send template message for our first send to the user. So now we can interact with the user using the regular send. You also see that we filled in recipient's phone number dynamically from the WhatsApp response on the WhatsApp trigger. So it's grabbing that from field from the messages object, and it's also grabbing the dynamic AI generated message from the output over here. And let's test this step. I'll click on the test step, and then we should see a message pop up here. There we go. So that was a really high level overview of the workflow. Reactivate here, send out messages, interact with the user over here. Let me actually just turn this live so I can show you guys what it would look like on a live interaction. Hi, yes, I think the first one would work. I send out the message, and then this will start working. Then I'll get a message back. Great, I'll go ahead and book that time for you. So now let's just quickly talk about how to actually implement these workflows into your business, because it's not just going to be plug and play, right? With any workflows that are out there, including my own and any other YouTuber or influencer, any workflows that you might find on Reddit, it's not going to be plug and play. You have to tailor it to fit your business. So I'm just going to go over it really quick. The first phase is discovery. This is where you discover the project. You dig deeper. You want to set your expectations. You want to gauge your current state and your future state. You also want to decide whether you need to implement the solution or not. And then once you decide that, you're going to go into discovery calls with somebody who's helping you out. Or if you're doing it by yourself, you can just sit back, assess your processes from beginning to the end. Like, what platforms are you using to operate your business? Are you using Salesforce as your CRM? Are you using something else? What channels do you have activated? Do you have WhatsApp, SMS, emails? What is it? The second phase is the design phase, and this is where you start designing a solution based on everything that was discovered until this point. Based on the data points, based on the channels that you want to talk to, based on your platforms, what is the ideal form that your solution will take? What do you have to modify? So think about those things as you're building sort of a blueprint before you actually build out the solution in the next phase. And as you start solutioning, you might also want to start prototyping what it may look like. Sometimes just writing out a solution on paper is not enough. You also need to get in platform, get on hand to really figure things out. And when you are done with the solution, you want to submit it for review. You either do an internal review, or if you're someone like me, you would do a client review for the client. But if you're just doing it by yourself, you just want to review it once. If you think it's good enough, you'll approve it, which is in the next phase. And if you don't think it's good enough, you're not going to approve it, so it's not going to pass the approval process. So you're just going to go back to solutioning. Now, these last two steps are relatively simple. You implement and then you test. So you build a solution. If it's approved, you prepare the first phase testing as well. And by that, I mean preparing sort of like a testing document where you list out the edge cases. What are the bad things that could happen? What are the bad situations? What could go wrong? And then you want to test all of that in the testing phase. And once testing is completed, you move into UAT, which is user acceptance testing, kind of like the very last phase of testing. And then you push the project live. Well, that was it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you want the workflow, I'll share it with you. Just DM me on Instagram. See you in the next one.